Tensions between the United States and Venezuela have escalated sharply after a new warning issued by former U.S. President Donald Trump targeting the Venezuelan government. Officials in Caracas responded by calling the statement a colonialist threat. The question many people are now asking is simple but serious. Is the United States preparing for a new conflict in Latin America? Today we break down what happened, why it matters, and how this situation could impact the region and the world. Before we break it all down, if this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any global political updates. And if you find this breakdown helpful, feel free to like, share, and help others stay informed. The relationship between the US and Venezuela has been tense for more than 2 decades. Sanctions, political disagreements, accusations of election fraud, and ideological clashes have fueled conflict between Washington and Caracas. With Trump's latest comments, the situation has entered a new phase. His statement warned the Venezuelan government of consequences if they continue on their current political path, a warning that Venezuelan officials immediately turned into a diplomatic firestorm. Trump's warning focused on accusations that Venezuela is contributing to instability in the Western Hemisphere. According to his message, the U.S. will not tolerate actions that threaten regional security or undermine democratic institutions. While Trump did not explicitly call for military action, his wording was strong enough to trigger concern. Political analysts describe it as a pressure signal, a message meant to remind Venezuela that Washington is watching closely. For many Venezuelans, however, the tone felt familiar, similar to past U.S. interventions in Latin America throughout the 20th century. This historical memory helps explain why Trump's words were interpreted so seriously and so negatively. The reaction from Caracas was immediate and harsh. Venezuelan officials described Trump's comments as colonialist, threatening, an attempt to control our sovereignty. The foreign ministry accused the U.S. of using aggressive rhetoric to justify future interference. They argued that Washington is trying to influence internal Venezuelan politics, especially as the country faces economic hardship, political division, and upcoming elections. Venezuela's leaders also used the moment to rally domestic support. Public speeches described the United States as trying to dominate Latin America, comparing the situation to past interventions in countries like Panama, Grenada, and Nicaragua. From the U.S. side, officials argue that Venezuela's government is responsible for economic collapse, human rights violations, and the mass migration crisis affecting neighboring countries. Washington claims that its actions, including sanctions, are meant to pressure the Venezuelan leadership into reform, not to start a war. Analysts note that U.S. officials have repeatedly said they prefer economic and diplomatic pressure, not direct military confrontation. Still, the tone of Trump's recent warning has reopened a sensitive debate. How far is the United States willing to go? Across Latin America, reactions are mixed. Countries that oppose Venezuela's government, like Colombia and Brazil, view Trump's statement as a firm stance that might deter instability. Meanwhile, nations that support Venezuela or oppose U.S. intervention historically warn that strong language can escalate tensions. On the global stage, major powers are also watching closely. Russia has long supported Venezuela economically and militarily. China has invested billions in Venezuelan oil and infrastructure. Iran maintains a close partnership with Caracas. Any aggressive move by the United States could trigger a geopolitical chain reaction involving multiple world powers. This is one reason experts say the situation needs to be handled carefully. Even words alone can shift global dynamics. Let's address the big question directly. Is Trump or the United States preparing for a war with Venezuela? Most analysts say no, and here's why. 1. Military intervention is extremely costly. Venezuela has difficult terrain, large cities, and strong military alliances. Experts agree it would not be a quick or easy conflict. 2. The U.S. prefers sanctions and diplomatic pressure. For years, Washington has used economic tools instead of military force. 3. International pushback would be immediate. Russia, China, and others would strongly oppose U.S. military action. 4. America is currently focused on other global crises. Adding a new conflict would stretch resources thin. 5. Trump's warning may be political, not military. Strong words can be used to influence international talks or domestic voters. But here's the real concern. Even if a war is unlikely, miscalculations can lead to unintended escalations. If threats intensify, if sanctions increase, if military assets move into the region, tensions could rise quickly. This is why many experts say the situation deserves attention, even if war isn't the likely outcome. What could happen next? Over the coming weeks, we may see more statements from both governments, new sanctions or diplomatic changes, regional countries choosing sides, international organizations calling for dialogue, political tensions rising ahead of elections in both nations. If both sides continue using strong language, relations could worsen, even without direct conflict. However, diplomacy is still possible. Latin America has seen crises before, and many have been resolved without war. The situation between the United States and Venezuela is complex, emotional, and deeply tied to history. Trump's warning may not signal a coming war, but it does show how fragile international relations can be, especially in a region where old wounds still matter. Now the question is, do you think this situation will escalate, or will both sides eventually calm down? Tell us your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more global political updates.